It's Thursday and round 24 is upon us. In-depth analysis, passionate debate and round 24 predictions. It's time for the Captain's Run. It is indeed time for the Captain's Run. Round number 24 kicking off this evening, of course. And with me is 18-man on tour and Super League Round member, Mr. Billy Ingham. How are you, sir?
Oh, very well, thank you, Mr. Kane. How are you on this Friday?
Splendid, mate. Absolutely splendid. Before we get into round 24, be remiss of us not to look back on Tuesday night's action, of course. The first time Super League Round have been live since that win for Warrington against Hull KR. And despite the score, a pretty convincing win as well for Warrington. Warrington putting the cue in the rack a minute to go, clearly. As a neutral in that, your thoughts on the game, Bill?
I thought the first half was really enjoyable. I thought it was a really good, close, quite high-intensity game. It seemed that the second half came and OKR just seemed to... they're just not the normal selves, are they? I mean, there's no other real way of saying it. And then a couple of... big moments in the game. I don't know how Pangai Jr. stayed on the field. I think he may go down as one of the most disappointing signings in Super League history, to be honest with you, considering that, what has he done, played 5 games and he's going to have been suspended 10 during that time. Mikey Lewis, I'm a bit worried about him on a personal level. I hope he gets some support. You could tell he did not mean to do that. It was a pure accident. It is a sin binning. It absolutely is. But it was completely accidental. But a really convincing win for Warrington. And I'd say probably 20 points better off, 20 points better than KR for me on the night. Just a couple of late tries made it look a little bit better for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I disagree with Pangai Jr. In terms of the swinging arm. I think it was in the game, maybe not a yellow, maybe not, I don't know. For him to not pick up any point, even if it was just a point for a swinging arm for that incident. And again, the thing that I found quite odd was, late contact on the passer. 3 times he was charged for that in the same game, and maybe I blinked and missed them. But in the game, other than the swinging arm one, which I expected him to get some points for and didn't, I can't really recall, certainly not 3 incidents where he hit a player late in the tackle. So I was quite surprised by that. A bit of a record for the lad that he wouldn't have wanted.
Yeah, so I'll be honest. I've only seen the sort of the headline figure on the match review panel, and I thought it had come for the swinging arm. So no, I don't actually recall seeing any late shots on the passer particularly. And so didn't get anything either, did he? Which was I think
was a surprise.
Yeah, I can understand. I don't know. For me, that was a yellow, but I don't think that was as bad as the Pangai Jr. for the swinging arm, because the guy's falling and whatever, and I just think it's a momentary thing, whereas Pangai Jr. were deliberate for me.
It was. I think there was a lack of contact, right? I mean, it was only a slight contact. I think it's the intent element of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, no doubt about it, and we'll get on to KR a little bit later when we preview the Toulouse game. But yeah, good win that for Warrington. I think any team that goes to Craven Park and gets a win, you've got to value it as a good win at this stage of the season. And Warrington will be very happy indeed to come out of that. But word on the street, Ewan Irwin would appear now to be a doubt after the game. It seems to have been aggravated. Maybe adrenaline got him through the game. I don't know. He's coming in for some absolute hammerings online, which is quite interesting at this moment in time for milking it and showboat. Loads of accusations I'm seeing online, which is interesting. We'll just leave that in the ether. I would say people in glass houses and that, the amount of times I've heard over the years that certain players shouldn't be getting the stick they do, and those same people are giving him an earring stick today, which is quite interesting. But anyway, that's by the by. We'll get into
just one point, Dave. I just want to say I thought it was a very good turnout from the Warrington fans as well, considering it's a Tuesday night across the M62 with the M62 closed. Very good turnout.
Absolutely. No, it was like I say, good game. I mean, loads to be disappointed about if you're KR. I mean, this is the first show we've done since that. I mean, some of the defending, we've talked all year about, KR in terms of statistically missed tackles has been a real Achilles heel for them all season. And, you know, we saw it in that game yet again, you know, some really, really poor attempts in terms of tackles that are very un-KR-like, very, very un-KR-like, you know, and that is one stat that Willie Peters wouldn't want to lead Super League for missed tackles, 855 after, you know, 23 rounds. Willie Peters is going to be filthy over that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a team that last year especially prided itself on its defence, and its defence probably won them the title. To be brutally honest, I think it's not a stat. It will won. I think OKR have probably fallen victim to the quicker rucks that were being introduced, which has affected a few teams. Probably affected KR more than others. But 24 rounds into the season now, you've got to find a way to adapt, and you've got to find a way to play the new system. All the teams have got to adapt. You've got to learn to do it yourselves. That's what the best teams do.
Absolutely, yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. If you're with us and you're watching, then by all means comment in the screen. We do appear. Obviously, we do know that it's a bit earlier tonight and people might tune in at 6 o'clock, but you know the members have got their own little warm-up that they do at 6:30 now on a Friday before Friday night games. Hence the reason why this has been a little bit earlier, so that the members can get themselves on that in the lead up to the Wakey and Wigan game a little bit later on. Let's take a look at the league. First of all, the bottom half of the league, and you know, not an awful lot here, Bill, really, to really gain the interest, other than of course the wooden spoon, and of course Huddersfield's revival, 4 wins in 4, has brought them off the foot, and now really you could say it's all on in terms of who's going to finish bottom of the pile this year. It's looked for so long this year that it was going to be Huddersfield. All of a sudden, that might not be the case.
Yeah, that's the way it's looking, really. I think it's probably a 3-horse race. I would think probably between Bradford, Huddersfield and Hull FC. I personally think it will be Bradford, not just because of my allegiance as a Rhino, that I am not taking any delight in Bradford being at the bottom of the league, but I just think that as good as they have been at times, that squad is depleted. They are running on absolute bare bones there. I'm half expecting a call to, get my boots back out from 20 years ago when I last played. But, maybe 21 man. I might bet 21 man squad.
Won't be happening, mate. I'm sorry. But no, I mean, the other thing as well is that the points difference has swung as well against Bradford, 313, 260 now for the Giants. So, like I say, that's also going in the Giants' favour, and that's why they're off the foot of the table. Hull FC minus 100. So they've got a healthy lead there on the Giants. So the Giants, I think, are probably going to have to overtake Hull FC on points if they're going to overtake them. As for the Knights, of course, the Knights have got a 2-point advantage on those 3 teams, minus 211 for them. Toulouse minus 158. I think all 5 of them, for me, could still get the wooden spoon. They could. It's going to come from them. But, yeah, I think Bradford are going to have to do it. So we go to the top of the league. And isn't it great to see the top of the league now where everybody's on 23 points? That is exactly where we are. The Rhinos, of course, top on 36 on points difference, 438, plays 282 for the Wigan Warriors. And, of course, is it next week, Bill? Is it next week?
No, the week after. Yeah,
Wigan take on Leeds. And that's at Headingley, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So that's going to be pretty much the battle for the Shield. That said, I do think there's going to be twists and turns, but that, without doubt, is going to have a major say in where the League Leaders Shield goes this year. Warrington Wolves now, with that win over KR, will not be giving up hope of a top 2 finish, Bill. They're 2 points behind Wigan and Leeds. One of those 2 are going to drop points. I think Warrington would probably want Leeds to win that because of the points difference. They've probably got a better shot overtaking the Warriors for second. And when you consider the Warriors have got Wakey this week, then KR, then Leeds, maybe, just maybe, Warrington will see Wigan as the most likely team that they could overtake if they could. Of course, Wigan have been in great form, but an opportunity nonetheless for Warrington. And then it's all on from there on down. I think Warrington now are pretty much give and take an absolute calamity. Look like they've secured a home game in the first round of the playoffs, mate.
I totally agree with that. I mean, like you said before, Dave, this is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The fact that we've got 6 teams who pretty much still can finish anywhere. There's real jeopardy going in. And the fact that it's coming down to a home playoff, the amount of teams that I've mentioned we want to be at home. I mean, I can only see, for example, Wakefield. I can't see Wakefield getting through the next round if they're away. If they're at home, I can see them getting through. So I think it does matter a lot to some teams. But I think you're right on Wire. I think they've probably secured it. And as a Wire fan, you must be absolutely buzzing with that.
No, I'm always humble, mate. Always. You know, it's like I was saying, I mean, you know, the members know I did a tea with Dave yesterday where I said, look, you know, there's a few Warrington fans getting a bit giddy over that win over KR. It's 2 points and all said and done. KR beat Warrington in the Challenge Cup when it was knockout, when it really mattered. So, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I think, you know, what matters for all teams, if they're going to be in that first round of the playoffs, is they're at home. That's the most important. Get that done, and then from there, it is what it is from there on in. Is what I would say. But no, a really good win. I mean, a cracking win. I mean, I think most people thought that maybe KR went into that one favourite of the week on Tuesday, so to come away with that win, Warrington fans will be absolutely delighted. As for Trin, of course, they have got 3 big fixtures of their own. They've got Wigan tonight, of course. Then they go, they play York at home, which, you know, we know York will be competitive, but I'd expect Wakey to come through that one. Then they've got the Wire at the DIY and finish the season against Lee Leopards at the LSV. So, like I say, Wigan and Wakefield have really got a challenging, real challenging run in there between those teams. But anyway, let's get into round number 24. And we always go in reverse order. So we are starting with the Leeds Rhinos, taking on, of course, the York Knights. And the player there, a man that you'll know well, Ben Jones-Bishop. He's been out for a while, but he's pictured, which would suggest he's going to be playing against the Leeds Rhinos this coming Sunday afternoon. Warrington's team is going to be announced by all accounts at 5 p.m. tonight. We have been hearing rumours as to who's not in that squad. So we're going to maybe have to put Warrington against Huddersfield down the pecking order until that team is launched, and then we'll look at theirs a little bit later on. But yeah, this, of course, happening on Sunday. And of course, there pictured is Mr. Lodge, who's come in from the NRL to bolster Leeds' title running. They're the two sides, Bill. Your thoughts going into this game?
So I think it's exciting that Ben can't get my words out there. Ben Jones-Bishop and is back in the squad. He started the season really strong and gave a little bit of experience to York's back line, particularly like a lot of Super League experience. Some of the other players didn't have. I think Scott Galliano's back in the squad as well. I think he missed last week. I've noticed that Nico. What's that? Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. And I think Nico Williams and Brad Ward are both out as well.
And Paul Vaughan.
And Paul Vaughan. Paul Vaughan's a big miss for York. I like York. I like the way that they've done things this year. They've been really on the front foot. They've been in every single game, and they've not given up, even in games where I think the most obvious one was the one against Wigan, where they were getting hammered and then still came and put 24 points on Wigan towards the end of the game. So I like York, and I like everything that they've done. And what's great about this game on Sundays, it's a sellout, Dave, which I think is York's first sellout since they came into Super League. I'm happy to be corrected on that, but I just think that's great for York, great for Leeds, and great for the competition. Leeds, I'm excited for as well. I'm excited for Lodge to get into the squad, especially with us losing, James McDonnell being out, which is a massive loss. And then we're obviously without another, Palacia, another, gives a lot of go forward too. I've noticed Metalti is back in the squad. I know that there's been something put out there that we're not renewing Metalti's contract for next season, so he is going to be leaving. But I don't think he's been given a fair crack at Leeds. I think when he went across to FC, he did a pretty solid job. I'd like to see him be given a run out this weekend. And I'm optimistic about this game, but after what happened a few weeks ago with Castleford, I don't want to take anything for granted.
No, York could make any team work for it. There's no doubt about that. I think, look, if Leeds lose this, they've lost the Shield, and they don't deserve to win the Shield. If you're going for, if you put all this hard work in throughout the year, you can't fall to York Knights at York if you want to win a league leaders Shield. So Leeds have to win this. It's as simple as that. Yes, McDonald's a big blow, of course he is, but it's going to be a very, very interesting game. Let's take a look at the match odds. 1 to 7 on are the Leeds Rhinos for this one. 92 if you're York Knights. It's first against 11th. And of course, at Leeds earlier in the campaign, it was probably actually York's worst defeat of the season, certainly up there. Well, I mean, Wigan, of course, at home was also very, very bad indeed, but it certainly was one of their biggest losses of the season. But again, showed great heart. In the first half, they were very, very competitive, if you remember, Bill, and then he fell away in the second. But 46-14, great win for the Rhinos in that one. And the two players that I picked out here to watch, well, I think Xavier Varr, I think with the absence of Vaughan, I think Varr for me this season has been a very, very good player indeed for York. And I think he's a big unit. He looks the part. I think next year we're going to see an even better version of him with 12 months under his belt in Super League. I think he's really posted some proper numbers. 23 games, he's played every single round from this year. Just the one try, Varney has absolutely done him where that's concerned in the front. But he gains an average of 8 meters a game, so 8 meters a carry, which is, for any prop forward, if you're getting 8 meters a carry, that's good going. He's also pretty good in D as well. 430 tackles, only missed 39 all season, doing big minutes down the middle. I think he, for me, is the catalyst. He's the one that's got to lay the platform for York if they're going to have any joy in this game.
100%, especially with Vaughan being out, he's going to have to really step up. He's had a solid season. I think he's a little bit unfortunate in a way that players like Offengawi and Caleb Hamlin-Welly have had such good seasons as well. Because he would be potentially in with an outside shot of the dream team. I think he's really, really impressed throughout this season. He's got to have a good game. He's got to set it up for the backs, because I don't honestly think York, especially without Paul Vaughan, are going to beat Leeds going down the middle. If they are going to beat us, it is going to be by going out wide, throwing it around and trying to get us on the outside. That's the only way I personally can see York getting anything out of this game, is if they do that. So we always say, your forwards win your games, your backs decide by how many. And it's got to be a strong performance from the forwards if they want to get anything out of this game. You're on mute, Dave. I think you're on mute.
Indeed, yeah. Good afternoon to Up the Train. Also, Kev Langman as well. Good afternoon to you, Rebecca Frey and Paul Bowman. You're there in the chat. Good to see you. Keep your comments coming throughout the show. You never know, you might even get yourself on screen at some point in the show. And of course, the other player that we highlighted there was Matt Lodge, who's coming in from the NRL. And so let's introduce him for those who don't know Matt Lodge, because there will be people out there that don't know him. 31 years of age, just over. From, of course, New South Wales in Sydney. Been around the NRL quite a long time. He's made 148 NRL appearances. He's played, he's not quite in the Matty Russell mould of Monopoly boards, but he's played for a lot of teams. Played for West Tigers, Brisbane, Warriors. He's played for Sydney Roosters. He's played for Manly, and he's played, of course, for the North Queensland Cowboys. So he's been around there. He's also been around quite a few clubs in the New South Wales / Queensland Cup. He's played East, he's played West, Redcliffe, Norths. He's been Blacktown as well as Manly Reserve. So, like I say, he has been around as Matt Lodge. Don't worry about that in his career. This season, he's played 15 times. He's made 24 tackle busts in that. He scored a try as well. 14 offloads and 93% their tackle efficiency, averaging 71 meters a game. Plays predominantly front row, can do a little bit at loose forward, but I think Billy's probably going to be brought over more for, especially with Palacia being out, for a little bit more size up front.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's without Palacia and without McDonald can do some quite big carries as well. So I think he's been given just to give us that little bit more steel going through the middle. You can never have too much of that, really. It's positive, and I think alongside Oledsky, Jenkins, and Holroyd will probably help Leeds get on the front foot. I'm quite excited to see him play. To be honest, I don't. In all honesty, I don't follow the NRL as much as other people, so I'm quite excited to see what he can do in a Rhino shirt.
Well, he's a big unit. I think he's 109 kilos, so he's a big lad. And he'll throw himself around, I'm sure. Be very interested to see how he does. Big day for Tom Inman, who I think's been superb for York at 9 this season. He's going to make his 100th career appearance on Sunday. Harry Newman more than likely going to be on the wing again in this one. which again is a problem, I think, for Leeds. Certainly, if that's the case as we go into the playoffs, he's not a natural winger. That's a big problem for them, for me. But he's going to make his 150th appearance for Leeds this weekend, is having you. So there you go. Right, let's get into the predictions. I'm going to go Leeds, but they're going to have to earn the right. I'm going to go Leeds by 14.
I'm being a little bit more optimistic, more than anything, because I know how much we need this victory. Because, as you said, without, I don't just think we need the win. I think we need a good win to be able to really push forward after a couple of quite challenging weeks. I've gone us by 32.
That's a big call.
I just want to point out I'm absolutely nowhere near in Super Brew. So,
no.
No,
I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, I think that's a big call. I think the way York have been played, if he did that, that would be some turnaround, in terms of recent weeks, because I think, York will be thereabouts. They have been all season. So to put 32 on him at home, I mean, you go in Wigan territory, and with the greatest respect, you're not in that type of form that Wigan were when they went to York. So if you do that, that really is going to be a statement of intent 2 weeks out from playing Wigan, no doubt about it. Like I say, Warrington will be announcing their 21-man squad at 5 o'clock. So we're going to skip the Warrington game and come back to it, because I do want to, look at their squad. So with that in mind, we're now going to move across to the game in Perpignan as Catalan's Dragons take on Hull FC. These are their squads. For the eagle-eyed amongst you, let's start with the Dragons. No for Tarpe. Of course, Maria, he has been banned as well. So they're the two big ones as far as the Catalans are concerned. As for Hull FC, still, a lot of caps sitting on the bench. Price, Hardacre, Asiata, no Cust. Yusuf Aidin also is not there as well. Brad Fash, of course, still out. And then, of course, there's some of the young lads. So, like I say, of the two squads, no question about it, Catalans come into this in better fettle. But it's a tough one to get excited about this, Bill, because, both of these two teams have got the ability to really turn up in poor form. And if they do so at the same time, this could be a tough watch. Equally, for all the wrong reasons, it could be a great watch.
Yeah, I think it could be. It's two teams that are incredibly inconsistent, have both been quite poor at times throughout the season. I think the most intriguing thing about this is the John Cartwright saga that's gone on kind of throughout the season. Formerly of FC, now over at Catalan, so I think that adds a little bit more spice, to the fixture. It's going to be a tough. It's going to be a tough game, I think. I don't see it going down as an all-time classic, but I think it could be a pretty steady away game. And if either of these teams want to show what their ambitions are for 2027, we obviously know with the news over the past few days, Hull FC have got a lot of ambition. Then this is the game to probably try and show it.
Well, they've won the last two in Perpignan. They've won the last two in Perpignan of Hull FC. In 2025, they won 24 points to 4 and 34 points to 0 over the Catalan Dragons. So it's been a good recent hunting ground for Hull FC, no doubt about that whatsoever. Let's take a quick look at the odds on this. 1-2 on the Dragons, 6-4 Hull FC coming into this game. Of course, in round 6 at the MKM, it was a win for FC, 24 points to 20. It's 8th against 12th. Both of these two teams come into it with just the one win in the last 5 games. I mean, it's fair to say neither of these are in form.
No, they're not. I think we seem to see a little bit of a step up from FC. A couple of weeks ago where they got that victory, and I think a lot of people were starting to think, all right, things have really turned for them now. And then last week, the game against Castleford, it wasn't the best watch for anyone. Catalan have been so up and down all season. They've been. It's been quite frustrating to see them at times. It's been like this for a couple of years, really, because they've very, very clearly got some talented players, but for whatever reason it is, whether it's an issue with the coaching, because I know they've had a bit of turmoil there the past 2 seasons or so, whether it's an issue culturally within the club or whatever, the fact that they can't really kick on is a problem, because we're not going back that far. They were competing in grand finals and looking like they could have actually won it at one point. That was a genuine thought. So it'd be great to see Catalans kick back on, but be honest, I'm not sure this is the game they're going to do it.
No, I mean the two to watch in this, Spiro Bichet. I think when Bichet plays well, it's a real feather in the cap for Catalans. I think, you know, he for me is a player that continues to develop well, and he's a player for me that, you know, would Steve McNamara be interested in bringing the Spiro Bichet to Hull FC? I mean, he's a player that, of course, came through under Steve. I think Bichet's got a lot of quality to him, and I think this is the type of game where he could be the difference. I think Dodd and Sexton have been a bit in and out this year. I think Charlie Staines has been steady away, but probably I don't know what it is, but maybe I think people might be giving Staines a bit too many plaudits. I think he catches the eye because he's in a team that's been underplaying, but his overall output, I think, has been, well, it's been all right, but it's not been great. I just think when Spiro Bichet's on, he just gives them that extra dimension. So that's an interesting one for me. And of course, the other man that was pictured a moment ago was Lewis Martin, who scored tries in the last 3 meetings with the Catalans Dragons. So, you know, this is a team that Lewis Martin tends to enjoy scoring against. Can he make it 4 in a row?
Yeah, I mean, couple of interesting points there. I think you are right. First of all, on Charlie Staines, I think I want to say he's either top or one of the top meter makers in the competition. And I think that's kind of glossed over some of his defensive frailties. It's great that he's making the meters, fantastic, fair play to him. But there's got to be a little bit more than that. He's a little bit like Lockie Miller in 24, of a lot of that's lateral and not really doing anything with the ball. So that's got to be taken into consideration. Spiro Bichet seemed to really burst onto the scene last season. I'm not really kicked on. I know he's had a couple of injuries, and maybe you are right on McNamara wanting to take him over, but as many people may joke, he might be a bit too young for FC to sign him. But you know, that's not something I would be saying, of course. He also probably a little bit. I mean, he's not particularly injury prone, so that might be a positive as well compared to Will Price has had some injury problems. So perhaps McNamara will look at that. That could definitely be a move. In terms of Lewis Martin, I've been a bit disappointed with Martin this season. I know he's been out a few games, but last season he in an FC team that did better. Well, it's not, they did better than they had done for a few years, but still never really kicked on. They never really looked like they were going to push for the playoffs or anything like that. So, but he still did very well, as did Harvey Barron on the other side. But for some reason, it's just not quite clicked this year. I mean, what the reason is for that? There's people who paid far more than me to give you them answers, but I'm not sure what that is. But hopefully he can get back to some form, because one thing that we don't really have an abundance of in terms of depth from an international point of view is wingers. We don't, in terms of real high quality ones. You've got Ashton, you've got Young, and then after that you're kind of dropping off a little bit, or some of the players are getting a little bit older. So if we can get a couple of good wingers in Martin and Barron, that's only going to serve the international team very well.
Yeah, I mean, look, top try scorer last year with 25 tries. Lewis Martin's only had 8 this year in Super League. That's a massive drop off for any player. So you're absolutely right to say that, and we'll be disappointed with that. There is, of course, another narrative in this. So things to look out for, maybe things to enjoy. So I always try and find a narrative in a game. Now, whether Aldrich De Costa plays or not is a question, but if he does, I think both sides are going to be very interested to see what they're getting next season. Because of course, both he and Borough are changing colours next year. And these are the tail of the tape for this year. Only 8 appearances for De Costa this year in a poor Catalan side. So I don't know what that actually says, quite frankly. 204 tackles, 26 missed, 15 carries, 12 dummy runs in there as well. He hasn't scored a try, just a 1 assist in there and 1 tackle break. You compare that to the 22 appearances that Borough played. So he's been on the field, which is a positive in itself. When any player in a tough sport like Super League is virtually playing every game, especially in critical conditions like Hooker, you've got to give him his due for that. 22 appearances, scored 2 tries, made 4, 13 tackle books, 5 breaks, 621 tackles, 44 missed from him, 70 carries for 51. And when you actually, from a 51 dummy runs, when you actually compare and contrast there, if you're looking at this statistically, it's the Catalan Dragons that are coming out of this transfer well.
Yeah, you'd say so. Possibly. I mean, I'll be honest. When it comes to Borough, I think he's okay. But I get he's played 22 games, but for me, he's just sort of been there. I've not really noticed him a great deal, and perhaps that could be me. That could be me. But I've not noticed him. He's sort of. I mean, his tackling stats are perfectly fine there, but I've not particularly noticed a great deal of steal. I've not particularly noticed much go forward from him, and that sort of is what it is really. Yeah, the Costa stats. I mean, has he been injured for quite a bit of the season, Dave? Or has he just been dropped?
I don't. Well, do you know what? It's very difficult. I've not heard an awful lot. I think he did pick up a knock earlier in the season, in the first third of the season. But like I say, it's an odd one in terms of Ulrich da Costa this season.
Yeah, he's a little bit of an odd one. I mean, not being funny, if he's coming from McNamara, must see something in him. Maybe it's his leadership qualities. Maybe he's got a very good work ethic. Maybe he's just a genuine good bloke, and Steve McNamara wants to, have him there for his what he can bring from a cultural perspective. So, perhaps that's why he's getting moved across.
Yeah, well, maybe, but of course, they also this season they brought in the young lad from Salford, didn't they, Harvey Wilson, and he's been getting a bit of game time as well, which is, again, has put da Costa out a little bit more than perhaps he would have been. Of course, it's Wilson that's out injured at the moment, but that'll be the reason for that. But I just think it's a really interesting one. Like I say, not everything's about statistics. I know that there's been a few comments floating about the members that have been saying that actually Boro's not a great signing for Catalans, but statistically speaking, there a moment ago, if you pro-rata it per game, Boro's output is better. But like I say, da Costa has been a bit in and out. He's not been getting the game time, and that, of course, can affect from a position of form. Great comment in the chat before we get the predictions for this game. Well done to Chris. He's absolutely right. Looking all the way forward to round 27, he says the York-Bradford game, the final game of the season, could be the playoff for the wooden spoon. You might be right. That is a great shout indeed in there. So there you go. And actually, somebody to the defence of Amir Boro here, Ulysses, saying Amir Boro is one of the league's most underrated players, quietly improving. So great name, Ulysses.
Fantastic.
I always put his name up when I see it. It's a beauty. It's an absolute beauty of a name. Right. Okay. Let's get into the prediction for Catalans against Hull FC. What are you going, Bill?
I'm going FC by 16.
You're going FC by how many?
16.
16. Wow, that's a big old score, that, Chief. If you don't mind me saying.
It is.
It's do you know what though? It really is a hard one to predict for the pure reason that both of these two sides this year, like I said, moments ago, have that tendency to produce shockers, and for that reason, it's very, very difficult. But I think for me, you're going FC. Did you say FC?
FC by 16.
I see this as a home. I really do. I see this as a home win. I don't know why I see it as a home win, but I just I could be wrong. I've been wrong many a time before, but I do. I just see this as I don't know. I just see it as a home win. I'm gonna, but not a good one. 12. 8, 12, something like that.
Just remember to do your Super Brew. That's all you need.
Well, I've given up on Super Brew. I'm a million miles away. And the problem was I missed a few weeks through holiday and stuff where I forgot to do it. Well, once you do that, it's time to give up. So, so obviously I do this every week. If people are really interested in my predictions, obviously they've been watching Captains Run all year, so they know what my predictions have been, and they probably weren't good enough anyway. So that doesn't really matter, does it? But no, there you go. So you're going Hull FC. I'm going the Dragons. Who knows who's going to be right on that one? Right, let's get in to the Warrington one because the teams are in. So, the squad's in for Warrington, so we can do this now. So we're going to go back to Sunday now for the Warrington Wolves game. And what I just need to do here, I will come back to this graphic in a moment. But before we do that one, let's take a look at the two squads. And here they come. So Warrington have named the following squad. And there are some holes here in the Warrington squad. Kai Taylor-Ray, I would expect at fullback. I know Lockie Webster's down there as well. But Kai has been in and around it, been playing a bit of reserve grade. I'd expect Kai Taylor-Ray will be the fullback on Sunday. Wingers, more than likely, are going to be Albert Hopewati and Matty Ashton. That, again, is what I would expect. That said that, though, he might put Hopewati back into the middle. No, it won't. It'll be Operati will be on the wing. It'll be Operati on the wing alongside Matty Ashton, Toby King and Lindop. Lindop will keep his place. George Williams will more than likely be partnered by Leon Hayes. Of course, no Ewan Irving expected for this. He's in the 21, but I'm not expecting Ewan Irving to play unless he's one of the greatest bluffs known to man. We'll find that out on Sunday. So he's there. No Luke Yates still. He's a little bit further away. Liam Byrne, who I felt had a strong game against KR, he's in the squad for Warrington. And for me, one of the players of the game at that KR game was James Harrison. I thought James Harrison down the middle for Warrington throughout was very, very good indeed. Danny Walker will be, of course, hooker. Second row, Adam Holroyd returns to the squad. Sam Stone is still there. Ben Curry at 13. Geordie Crowther, of course, also there. So they're in good fettle there, Warrington. Just a couple of key positions. The likelihood is, like I say, Irwin and Fulis, two big losses. And Toff Sipley as well could be the end of his season. That'll be announced during the course of next week. But Toff Sipley having major problems by all accounts. As for Huddersfield Giants, well, like I say, they're probably as strong as they've been for most of the season. They've had torrid injury problems, of course. Still no Adam Swift, but that said, Halsall's return. Let's start there, Bill. The return of Sam Halsall on the wing has been a real welcome for the Giants.
Oh, it has. He's been in some good, really good form. I think sometimes I know he's come back, but sometimes you can just get a little bit of a lift out of a new coach as well, can't you? And I wonder if that's something that's happened with Sam also, where he's come back and he's got a coach that he's just right for him in Lenihan, and that's it's great. It's great to see. It really is great to see. I've been, to be fair, last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been really impressed with Huddersfield. I think both these teams come in on four on the bounce as well, if memory serves me correct. I think this is going to be a really quite a tight game, to be honest with you. It could go either way.
Well, will Ollie Leyland feature against Warrington? That'd be a story, wouldn't it? Cole Gayer, of course, being linked to York and Bradford for next season. He's been a revelation in interchange hooker alongside Zach Wolford. They are missing still Burgess, still no Kai O'Donnell, and of course Dunford as well. He's not there. He's down for this. He's injured, and again, maybe out. I think it's Dunford that's gone for they've actually sent him for a surgery and will not feature for the rest of the season, so he's back in time for pre-season. So there you go. That's how that looks. So look, I think this could be an absolute barnstormer of a game. It's got, I think on form, you're quite right. You said it a moment ago there. Both teams come into this 4 wins on a row. When Warrington went to the Echo Stadium earlier in the season in round 61, 34 points to 4. I don't see such a big margin this time. Let's not forget, last year, Huddersfield came to the Halliwell Jones Stadium in round 23 and beat Warrington 23 points to 10. Sorry, 24.16, sorry. 24.16 in round 15 last season. And on that day, Tane Milne and Jacob Gagai absolutely bullied and destroyed Warrington. They were absolutely incredible. I think because of the form, because Warrington have got a couple of key men, if Irwin isn't playing and Fulis isn't playing, 2 key men there. Sipley off the bench has been very, very good for Warrington. That really is levelling it up a little bit. I think this could be the game of the round. I think, Huddersfield are in great form. This is one that Warrington have to earn the right to win. And there's no point in beating Hull KR on Tuesday if you then fall to Huddersfield at home on Sunday, Billy.
So yeah, totally agree. It's brilliant. It's been great to see over the last few weeks Huddersfield really come back into it. I mean, a lot of people were writing Warrington off just a few weeks ago too. Would they even make the playoffs? And now we're talking about them for top 2. So it's great. I think this is going to be a close one to call, particularly with a couple of injuries that have come for Warrington, and with a form of players such as Harry Rushton, who on form is probably the best 13 in the comp at this moment in time. This could be a real. I'm probably actually unfortunately going to miss the game with it clashing with the Leeds game. So a bit unfortunate, but is what it is. But that is going to be a really, really good game.
It's going to be a class game, absolutely class. You're right about Rushton and Curry. Oh, that's going to be wonderful to see, because both of those are, without doubt, well, Rushton, not over the course of the season, but in the here and now. Harry Rushton is 13, possibly, arguably, the most informed 13 in the comp at this moment in time. Nowhere near the dream team. He's been out for too long, but his form has been impeccable over the course of the last 5 to 6 weeks. And of course, Ben Curry's been thereabouts all season. That is in itself is a wonderful little battle. The 2 men to watch, of course, I picked out Leon Hayes. I mean, Leon, of course, has been dropped out the squad with George Williams returning. If Ewan Irwin, it is expected Ewan Irwin isn't playing unless it's the greatest bluff known to man. So it's more than likely going to be a Leon Hayes, George Williams 7-6. Now look, Leon Hayes has been playing great rugby league alongside Irwin. There was a lot of people saying, should Williams come back into the team, because those two were playing so well. So Leon coming in, one to watch. He wants to to keep laying his marker down for the 2027 season, to one, be at Warrington, but two, really pushing for a starting place. So that's going to be interesting. And of course, on the other side at 7, the return of Adam Clune. Since he's come back, Huddersfield have gone up another notch. It's the biggest conundrum that I think Huddersfield have got. What do they do with Adam Clune? Do they give him another contract or not? And of course, it's a real difficult one because when he plays, he's superb. Absolutely superb. He's so good for Huddersfield Giants. He just doesn't play enough. So what do you think they're going to do? First of all, I've waffled a lot there. Hayes, Clune, 2 great players to watch in this one. Clune, does he stay at Huddersfield in 2027?
He will, yes, but I don't think he should.
Ooh. Do you think they'll extend him?
Yeah, I think they will. But I don't think he should, and that's taking nothing away from his ability. He's a very, very good player. Huddersfield over the last few seasons have been massacred by injuries for a variety of reasons. You can work around a number of players being off the field, and you can work. Losing his 7, and a very good 7 at that, is not ideal. And I think also having a good 7 next to Lola Haya actually makes Lola Haya less bad as a player. He doesn't seem to be making as many off the cuff stupid decisions as what he was doing earlier in the season when he was trying to control the game. So yeah, I think they probably will, but I think it's probably time to move on and get somebody in who you can build a team around and build a little bit of form around too. I think you're right on Hayes. I think Hayes will have I'll have quite a good game. But he's got George Williams was class the other night. He was absolutely outstanding, particularly considering that he's come back from an injury that's had him out for quite a while. Him and Danny Walker were the 2 best players on the pitch for me. I thought they were both outstanding. And let's hope that he continues the form, and it's as good a game as what we hope it's going to be.
Well, Conor Wrench as well, of course, returns to Warrington. That's been the chat. Kev Lagman saying that there. Chris, mate, dear me. Chris, he had a great first comment. He's second, I'm not so sure. Harry Rushton has been superb, but England, really? No. I don't even think Harry would think that he's England class at this moment in time. No. Well down the pecking order is what I would say on that. But, Rushton at the moment, like I say, absolutely superb in the here and now, but there's many a player that is ahead of Harry Rushton.
That's like some of the ones I were coming out in the chat with this morning, Dave.
I'm not even talking about them, Bill, because quite frankly, I thought you were having a wobble, mate. I don't mind saying. I thought that's how you were going to come on the show like that, with your head wobbling all over the place. You've had
it's just my chin. Just my chin that wobbled.
You've had a mare this morning, mate, on the chat, if you don't mind me saying. But anyway, that's by the by. Of course, members know what that's all about. Unbelievable stuff. But no, look, interesting game this. A really interesting game. I think Warrington needs to show the utmost respect for Huddersfield coming into this game. Huddersfield, of course, got a free run at this. Right. Where are you going and by how many?
I'm going wire by 8.
Yeah, I can't back against Warrington for the pure reason that, like I say, they're on a good run. And I said it a moment ago, you can't go and beat Carr on a Tuesday and then lose against Huddersfield on the Sunday. You've got to back it up. You've got to get the job done. I don't think it'll be pretty. I think it'll be a grind. I think it'll be a cracking game. But I am going to go Warrington. I don't think you're a million miles off. It won't be any more than 2 tries in this one for me. It's going to be a very entertaining game. Fantastic stuff. Right. Well done. Superb. That's Warrington done and dusted. We now move to the Hull KR game. Now, unfortunately, there's no graphic being launched this week by Toulouse, which is most Toulouse Olympic. What are you doing? Get a grip of your lives. Nothing on social media showing their 21-man squad, which is very disappointing when you're doing shows like this, if you don't mind me saying. But the 21-man squad is out. So it will be Lambert Belmas, Joe Cater, Tiaki Chan, Victor Collin, Hugo Garrigues, Brandon Hands, who's been superb this season for Toulouse. He's in there. Machuja Som. Oh, he's so in line. He's a possibility for a dream team, Chris. I'll tell you, just Som's been exceptional all year. Thomas Lecan, Benjamin Liguer, Anthony Marion, Henry O'Kane, Luke Pacelli, Mathieu Pons, Ethan Kai, Cesar Rouge, James Romanos, Maxine Stefani, John Telefau, Romeo Trapeze, Paul Ulberg, and AJ Wallace. That is the 21-man squad.
Could you just repeat that for me?
No, I've done it once, and that's more than enough. But no, I mean, look, that's the squad. It is still without some very, very key personnel. Before, actually, I forgot to mention as well, if you like a punt, I mentioned Lewis Martin against Catalan. Toby King has scored a try in the last 6 games against Huddersfield. Can he make it 7? There you go. Toby King, always a good bet when Huddersfield come to town. Back to the Toulouse game. I forgot to mention that for those who like a little bit of bet step. But yeah, back to Toulouse. And look, Toulouse, like I say, still no Ole Ashel Bot in there. He's still missing form. We know the impact that has. But still good personnel. The fact that Sharks is there, Lacan's there, Hans is there. Yeah, there's enough. Benjamin Laguerre, of course, Machuji Som. There's enough quality there for Hull KR to be worried about. Now, of course, the big news story, Bill, coming into this game is that he has dropped Mikey Lewis and Pangai Jr. for this game. They are dropped. Now, I've got to give Willie Peters, that well done to Willie Peters. And in his press conference, he said it's all about not just the here and now, but the standards that he leaves behind for the new coach. I posted on the WhatsApp group a link to the full Willie Peters press conference, and if people haven't listened to that, what a press conference! The way he handles the whole Mikey Lewis Pangai Jr. piece, very, very assured, very good. And the fact that he's saying this is not just about now; it's about next year. Mikey Lewis is he's one of our key players, our top player, our marquee player. But he pretty much is saying he needs to understand the responsibility that he's on his shoulders, and he has to do better. And he's just telling him, sort it out, because I'm not afraid of dropping you. And I think that's a really interesting moment. I mean, there's been a lot of people saying, there's a lot of talk about Michael. The bottom line is nobody can argue that was a yellow card. And unfortunately, because of the point system, he's going to get bans. Yeah. And if he's not careful, he'll get more bans before the end of the season because he's got to be squeaky clean. And what I like here about Willie Peters, and I think KR fans should look at what Willie Peters has said and see the way he's handling this and see the way in which he's talking about Mikey, because it's exactly right what he's saying. He's got to be better. He has to have a higher standard than he's currently playing at. And by dropping him, for me, he's really telling Mikey enough is enough, because if he's not playing because he's banned, well, he's banned. Where's the punishment? The punishment has come from the Rugby Football League. What I like about Willie Peters here, this punishment has come from Hull KR. It's come from Willie Peters. That, for me, has more bite. It has more gravitas in terms of what's between the ears. So I think, personally, what Willie Peters has done here could be a masterstroke between now and the end of the season where Mikey Lewis is concerned, because I think Mikey Lewis is, if it's not dawned on him yet, it needs to dawn on him. We are not afraid of dropping you if you are going to, become a liability for the team. Everybody knows he's great on his day, but if you're going to be a liability, if you're going to do these silly things, we can ill afford to have you in a playoff series.
Yep, couldn't agree with you more. You can be the best player in the world, but if you're always stuck on the bench, there's no point you being there. I did feel a little bit sorry for him the other night, and I know I said it earlier, but it was a pure accident. You could tell he did not deliberately intend to do that. He was trying to pull out, but it is a yellow card, and it comes off the back of some intentional stuff. So, a few weeks ago against Warrington, and then famously it's first game of the season against York too. So yeah, I do feel sorry for him. I wonder if Willie Peters has got sort of one eye as well on the fact he's setting the tone perhaps for his time at PNG. He's going to be potentially managing. I think Jerome Luai's going over there, so he's going to be dealing with some quite big characters. He's going to be coaching players who are a stature that he's not coached at a head coach level before. I know he's been involved as an assistant at Australia and so on. So I wonder whether he's drawing a line there. And to anyone at PNG who tries to mess around, and he can say, actually, no, look, Mikey Lewis is one of the best players in Super League, and I dropped him. I'm not afraid to drop you if you don't do the same. So I wonder if there's an element of that going on too.
Well, the coach is in charge, and rightly so. And I think and what it shows is how strong he is. He is. Absolutely superb. Superb stuff. So, like I say, and this is what in the chat, doesn't their ban come into effect? And it does. Both Mikey Lewis and Pangai Jr. could play this weekend against Toulouse. They have been dropped. The club have made an example. They've said it's not acceptable what those two players are doing. I think Pangai Jr. is going to have to go some to get another game at KR. I think Pangai Junior. I can't remember a time where, like I said at the start of the show, 3 incidents in the same game for the same player that all got their own separate. I've never seen that, and I've been doing this. I've been into that level of detail for 5 years. I cannot remember that. So, like I say, brilliant from Willie Peters. Absolutely brilliant. I think it's the right thing that he's done, and hopefully, maybe he'll reap the benefits of that. A better Mikey Lewis when he comes back, because it's one thing to be banned by the Rugby Football League; it's another to be banned by your club, to be dropped by your club. Especially a player like Mikey shows real courage in terms of Willie Peters, and I like the fact that he mentioned next year. I think that is class, because how many coaches not interested in next year? I'm not interested in next year.
Yeah.
I mean, forgive me, Saints fans. Look at Paul Wellens last year. Paul Wellens picked players last year because of who they were time and time again, where to the outside, you play Noah Stevens more. Play Noah Stevens. How many of us were saying play Noah? Why Noah Stevens playing more? This season, it's unlikely Saints are going to win the, this is 2025. It was unlikely they were going to win the grand final. So start blooding players for next year now. And he didn't do that. Willie Peters, I'm setting markers down for the new coach. I'm setting a standard so that when the new man comes in, that standard is maintained. This is who we are. This is what about. I love that. A lot of coaches don't do that. It's all about me. It's all about now. I'm not bothered about next year. These coaches that come in and buy 30, 31-year-old players and above because they want instant dividends right now and don't build from the ground up. Brilliant stuff in terms of Willie Peters there, in terms of laying a marker down. Absolutely different gravy. There's other interesting things in terms of the KR squad. Oliver Gildart's there. Will he play? Will he not? Of course, coming back. We'll have to wait and see. In his pre-match press conference, Willie Peters did say that Jack Charles and Louis Gorman will play. And he says that he sees Louis Gorman as a centre. So could it be that Gorman and Hiku start in the centre positions? Is Gildart just selected but not playing? That's going to be interesting to see. And of course, the big glaring hole there, and it's a massive hole, is Tyrone May. That is huge. I mean, to every Robins fan tells you, he often goes unnoticed, not by the Robins fans and not by people who know the rugby league. Tyrone May at times plays in a dinner suit, and he's absolutely the catalyst for some of the biggest wins that KR produce. He's an absolute quality player. So they're not only just missing Mikey Lewis for this game, they're missing Tyrone May. And it sounds like it could be a Jack Charles, Ryan Hampshire halfback combination. And in saying that, Bill, all of a sudden, this isn't as easy as perhaps it could have been. And Toulouse are one of those sides you cannot underestimate. So for me now, KR have been a bit up and down in terms of the confidence, in terms of how they've been playing on the field. We know the defensive frailties, the missed tackles, this, that, the other. They're coming up against the Toulouse team, and Willie Peters mentioned it in his pre-match press conference that, Wigan thought they got the job done at the break 18-6, and before they knew it, it was 18-all. They're not going to go away. All of a sudden, this could be a bit of a game, Bill.
Definitely. I mean, we only have to, remember Toulouse beat Wakefield first game of the season. They gave my club Leeds a scare. They're a good team at Toulouse, very, very good side. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts Lytton into the halves and has Lawton start with Leyland off the bench for the 9 position. I can maybe see him doing that with Lytton having covered that position before. You are right on Tyrone May. He's, in my opinion, been the better of the 2 halfbacks this year at KR. He's an outstanding player on his day. He's Tyrone May. He doesn't do the flashy stuff, so he doesn't get the plaudits that Mikey Lewis and Jez Lytton and other players do. But he's a class player. He's Tyrone May. It does make it a very, very interesting game. I'm undecided so far on this one as to which way it could go. I like Toulouse. I like some of the players they've got. Hans is a great player, as you said. Jussom, I'm hoping he's got an English granddad or something like that, or perhaps that I might do a bit of genealogy on him, see if we can get him in the England side for the World Cup. But they're a good team at Toulouse. In a similar way to York, I like what they've done. I like the way that they've done it as well. A large contingent of that French team, of the Toulouse team, are French too. So they're not just by bringing in big international stars; they are trying to blood from the ground up. So it's going to be it's closer than a lot of anyone just looking at it on paper would think.
What I would say to you is, mate, before you even consider becoming a genealogist, based on some of your comments, I'd be a gynecologist. That's another story based on that today, and that's probably one of my better lines in the last 5 years. Anyway, let's move on to things to look at here. The match odds. I mean, again, I think these were done before. Again, I do think sometimes that some of these betting sites they're not into the detail in rugby league. I genuinely believe that because 1 to 14 on suddenly looks very, very one-sided to me. I don't see it being a 1 to 14. I mean, I know that KR are in good form coming up to that Warrington game, but some of the frailties that we saw in mid-season were there again for all to see against Warrington, plus the absentees. I'm not saying that KR aren't going to win this. I am going to back KR to win it, but it'll be a tight one in a moment. But I don't see it at 1 to 14, 7 to 1 to lose. I mean, it was a massive win. Forgive me there. That's the wrong score. I'm sure that's the wrong score. Sure it was. 46-0 was the last game at Toulouse Olympic. 46-0, not 38-6. 46-0 in round 8 it was when these two met earlier in the season. I mean, from your perspective, Bill, do you think that those odds are out based on the squads and what we've just said?
They're absolutely miles out. They're as far out as some of my England picks. They are, they're just. I swear down sometimes with some betting companies. They're just book a number.
Well, they see the name KR quadruple winners taking on Toulouse. I can't believe for 1 minute that somebody's cast their eyes over them squads and have got into the level of detail required. I think there's a bit of value there, 7 to 1 for Toulouse. I really do.
I agree. KR are the favourites. There's no question. KR go into this game as favourites, but they're not. This isn't the KR that won the World Cup Challenge against the Toulouse side that played in the Championship last year. This is a Toulouse side that can give most teams in Super League a good run for the money and can compete against the KR side that are out of form and are missing some very, very key players.
Absolutely. I mean, the ones to watch. Let's start. I mean, look, Jez Litton now, the weight on Jez Litton's shoulders going into this game is huge, absolutely huge. I mean, there was a lot of talk, again, going back to Mikey was playing quite well. He was all right. I mean, let's be honest, that try that Mikey Lewis scored, that was all Jez Litton. Yeah, it was a good run, possibly offside, but all about Jez Litton. All about Jez Litton. Cracking little ball through. Have a bit of that, Mikey. Jez Litton, for me, has been showing, again, he's had a couple of games recently where he's really been on point. Because of no May, because of no Lewis, it is absolutely vitally important that Arthur Morg, Jack Broadbent and Jez Litton, from a creativity. I mean, I know Jack Charles is going to play, and it's going to be interesting to see Jack play. It's going to be very interesting to see Jack play. But those three players for me, Litton, Morg and Broadbent, those are massive in this game. They really do need to grab it by the scruff of the neck and compensate for, of course, those the May and Lewis not being there for me. And on the other side, a player that I think has gone right under the radar all year and has been, again, Jassom, Ashel, Bott, they've been getting lots of flowers at Toulouse, and rightly so from us and everybody. But also Jake Shorrocks has got to be in there in terms of how well he's commanded the middle of the park.
Yep, good player is Jake Shorrocks. I think I said it last week. Solid player. You know exactly what you're getting. He does a very, very good job. And I think Toulouse, I said last week, I think Toulouse is the right club for him as well. Somewhere where he can just go about his business and be in control of the game. There is a lot of pressure on Jez Litton. He might be walking like Quasimodo. He's got that much weight on his shoulders. Come the game this weekend. It's going to be, he needs to step up. And I think another player who probably needs to do a little bit more is Hiku. I think Hiku could be really, really important in this game. Yeah,
just looking actually, Shorrocks isn't there. This is the problem with not having a graphic for him. Shorrocks isn't there, so a lot of pressure is going to fall on Lacan's. Lacan, there's no Shorrocks, so that's a big blow for Toulouse. So Toulouse are going to come into this with no Shorrocks. So that's a big blow. That's a massive blow for them. So like I say, I'm going to go KR. I don't see it at 1 to 14. I really don't. I'm going to go KR. I think they'll get it done by. I'm going to say. We know Shorrocks now. That's probably giving me a little bit more. I'm going to go 2 scores by 12.
I'm going to go 10.
Yeah, I see it in and around that. Worth that. I mean, Kev Lam was saying worth £10 bet on the outside where that's concerned. Yeah, I think that's good value. It's 7 to 1 to lose. It's good value. It's going to be a tough game, that I think, for KR this weekend. We'll see on the other side. Right. Here we go. St Helens, what a win. What a win for St Helens last week at Wakefield Trinity. Caught everybody by surprise. Nobody saw that, least of all Wakefield Trinity fans. An incredible win. And of course, some players back. Mark Percival, Dion Cross there as well for good measure, returning into the team. What we do know is that Saints suddenly appear to really be getting a bit of fight in the game. But like I said, they're coming up against the Castleford Tigers side that no Ryan Carr. Announced today, of course, that Ryan Carr has officially left the club. Everybody, of course, have been expecting that. I'm sure there's no doubt in my mind. You're not going to. The reason for that will never come out, and I will never say it for legal reasons. But I think there's been a lot of non-disclosure documents have been signed where that one's concerned. But in terms of the squad itself, Castleford Tigers, like I say. Bringing in quite a few of the Lee Leopards boys. Lazarus Aleppo, of course, Keenan Brand and Ben McNamara. They're in. So like I say, they're going to be there for the Castleford Tigers in this one. This is a very, very interesting one. This a real interesting game. Let's just go through the next graphic and then we'll get into a conversation with regards to it. It's 7th against 9th. Both have won 2 of their last 5 games. I mean, 1-8 on Saints, 5-1 Castleford again. You know, Saints, yes, great win last week. Now the question is, can they back it up this week? You know, there's fragility there. There's fragility at Castleford. Again, 2 teams that from one week to the next, you don't know what you're going to get. 5-1 Castleford. Wow, 1-8 on Saints. Based on the fact that Saints beat Wakey, of course you put Saints as favourite on home turf, but again, the odds here really, really interesting. 30 points to 10, let's not forget, in round 12. That was one of the big lows for Saints this year when they went to the Wombo Stadium and lost 30 points to 10. This is an interesting game for me, Bill. We don't know what we're going to get. We really don't know what we're going to get. So let's start with Welsby. He was the one to watch there for St Helens. Jack Welsby, for me, the way Tristan Saylor played last week, he's one to watch this week because what's his reaction going to be? Because everybody's purring over Tristan Saylor's performance against Wakefield. There's no doubt that when he went to fullback, that is where the tide swung. Saylor was absolutely superb. I went out on Weekly and said, for those who are into the detail, all these people who have doubted Tristan Saylor, that Welsby's better. He's battered Welsby for the last 2 years statistically. Even if you take into account on a game-by-game basis, his stats have absolutely battered. And they say, well, yeah, but, stats are one thing, the eye's another. Tristan Saylor on the eye in attacking phases, he's very easy on the eye. I get it, defensively, all right, maybe not, bit to work on perhaps, but it was Tristan Saylor, I think, at the weekend who put did he put his body on the line for a few at the weekend?
That's the one, yeah, that's the one.
He put a few on the, so like I say, he's really turning up for St Helens. I think one to watch for St Helens this weekend is Welsby, because I think Welsby now, what we do know about Kevin Walters is that he brought Tristan Saylor through at Brisbane. So, if you're Tristan Saylor and you're getting Walters as your new coach, you're like, oh, well, at least the coach we're getting is somebody who fancies me. He rates me. So for me, it's all pressure on Welsby. All pressure on Welsby now because, he's got to sell himself to Walters. And, he'd have seen him in the first Ashes test where he was dropped. Now, nobody's saying that Jack Welsby's not a great player, but I would say advantage Tristan Saylor at the moment with a new coach coming in.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think my thing when it comes to these two is, for me, there's not a place in the side for both of them. They're both best position is at full back. And if St Helens have kind of seem to always have a mantra about building a team around a kid who's come through your system, and Jack Welsby obviously fits that mould. Tristan Saylor he's a very good player. I've had my doubts about him at times too. Particularly when he first came over, but he has really proven himself. I think where he's sort of really stepped up too is when they've said to him, look, Tristan, go play on the wing, go play in centre, go play wherever. And he's done a job. He has done a job no matter where he's played. Defensively, he's probably not as strong as Welsby as a rule. He did have a very good game at the weekend, however. One of them needs to go for me. One of them needs to leave. And I think whichever one stays, you can build the team around. I don't really have a preference on which one that will be. You are right on stats. Tristan Saylor has done better than stats, but as I got told by some Saints fans the other week, stats are like bikinis, nice to look at, but don't mean anything. Yeah. And then I'll remain nameless which Saints fans that was. But it was, you know, he's a great player, he's Sailor, but I think you're right. Kevin Walker's coming in. It does give him the advantage. It'd just be really interesting to see if they do both stay where they both fit in going forward, especially with the likely Jackson Hastings. Jackson Hastings was second for assists in the league, but has done nothing all season for Saints. That Jackson Hastings, where they both fitting into the side going forward.
Well, I don't see Hastings there next year. I'd be amazed if he was. Is what I would say on that. I think Robertson has really put himself in the window for 6. I think he's been very easy on the eye. Robertson at 6, probably trying to do too much. And of course, as the squad gets better around him, that'll calm down a little bit. But there's no doubt
as he matures as well, as he gets a bit older, as his game develops, he's going to realise he doesn't need to do that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been out of that position for a while. I'm led to believe he's played there a few. Played in various positions in his youth, coming through the system. It's a position he fancies himself in, and of course, it could keep the wolf from the door where Wakefield are concerned because he wants to play in those positions. So I do see that Robertson probably will get the 6. Neither Wellesby or Sailor are a 7. You don't have marquee players that are playing on your wing, and if you do, I think you've got to look at your salary cap and what you're doing with your squad, quite frankly. So it really is a full-back position, and like I say, I think Walters will fancy Sailor, and the output of Sailor in attacking phases over the last 2 years he's been head and shoulders better than Jack. So, like I say, that is going to keep rumbling on. But it is the perfect response to this critique and to anybody else's critique is this coming weekend. If Jack Wellesby starts at 1, which maybe he will this weekend, I mean, that is, again, he's thrown into further question, because if you look at the squad coming into this game, there are you've got Percival back. So Percival can play in centre alongside McDonnell if he's fit. Of course, Sailor started there last week. So again, that's going to be interesting. And of course, what we know at the moment is that the current coach is one of these, Saints men, for want of a better word, the St. Helens way. So Percival will have credit in the bank. So he might bring Percival back alongside Nene McDonnell. He might drop Nene McDonnell and leave Sailor in the centre. I don't know. But if he does go over Percival and Nene McDonnell centre partnership, he's then got a big decision in terms of, right, who's at full back to start this game. That is going to be absolutely fascinating. Really looking forward to that. Another player that I think is worth mentioning is Saluka Fafita, because I thought he had a real strong game against probably his best game yet in a Saints shirt. He's a big unit. He's come in halfway through the season, finding his feet. But I thought that there was a lot to be happy about if you're a Saints fan in his performance at the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, say you were talking to somebody and you say you need to watch this game. One of the sides has got an absolutely sensational prop forward. He's been knocking everyone aside all year, making great yards, big tackles. He's a potential superstar. If anyone didn't know the two teams, they'd have thought we were talking about Fafita rather than Hamlin Llewellyn. That's how, Fafita had a very, very solid game last week. He played very, very well. Definitely his best game in a Saints shirt. They just seemed to, I don't know what it was last week, they just seemed to gel, St. Helens, didn't they? They just that second half, they just seemed to really, really gel. Wakefield were poor as well, second half. I did have to laugh a little bit though, Dave. I don't know if you noticed it. A lot of St. Helens fans clap it, is there a fire drill, when Wakefield Trinity fans were leaving early. It was like, come on, maybe give it a bit of time on that one, lads.
I think there's a lot of fans this year that can't throw accusations at other clubs where walking out is concerned, quite frankly. Anyway, ridiculous. Anyway, but anyway, but well done to all those proper Saints fans who actually went to Wakey at the weekend. Well done. Really, really good. Well done, guys. You did your team proud. Could hear you all the way through the game. Outstanding. Well done to each and every one of you. I mean, just on Saluka Fafita, what I would say about him is this, right? And this is what I mean about how well he played. Okay. Again, just getting into a little bit of detail here. He got 4 tackle busts in that game. He's played 10 games for Saints this year. In the other 9 combined, he had 8. He's only gone over 100 metres 3 times this season. The opening against Warrington, he did 103. Against York, he did 104. Last week, he did 163. This is how far and away it was his best performance thus far. High level of tackle busts in the game, a lot more meters than he's, in some respect. I mean, doubled his meters compared to some of his games this year. I mean, when you consider in the Bulls, he got 81 meters, he got 98 against the Warriors, 86 against the Dragons, 56 against the Warriors again, 77 against FC. So he's doubled in a game what his averages have been. So, like I say, that for me now is the benchmark for Saluka Fafita. That's, against a really good team in Wakefield. He's gone and produced real good numbers and really looked the part, bullied on the field, really got over the top of Hamlin-Ueli and Fartilli, etc. So that now is his standard, and I think it's right that we give him the plaudits.
Definitely. The thing is now he needs to back it up, and he needs to have another game where he's, over 100 meters, great number of tackles, really putting himself out there too. I mean, because sometimes it can be a little bit easier to get those stats when your team's on a bit of a roll and you just start going and another team's starting to collapse. So if he can back it up again this week, he's going to start to see that he's really starting to settle into the St. Helens side, and he looks like he's been quite an astute signing. But that time will tell.
Absolutely, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then in terms of Castleford, like I said right at the beginning, let's just recap on the Castleford squad. There they are at the bottom. Lazarus Valapu, I think he's out, something like that. Keaton Brand and Ben McNamara. These three players coming in from Lee Leopards. And the one for me is Lazarus. He's the one that I'm really interested to see against Saluka Fafita this weekend, because he's coming halfway through the season. Normally, Lee get that so right. We've seen it time and time again that he brought the likes of Mamone over, they brought the likes of Offarengawi over last year, where they really got it right. Lazarus came over. I was there for his debut, and he's a big lad, big unit. Maybe not quite fit. I don't know. That'd be for the Lee Leopards fans to say, but from a Lee Leopards perspective, for him going back to the Lee Leopards for next season, I think all Leopards fans will be tuning into this game to see how Lazarus goes, because this is a big game for him. From now till the end of the season, he has got to really show that he's capable of playing for a genuine playoff stroke grand final team, because that's what Lee are building to. So I think Lazarus, I'm going to be very interested, because he's going to get the game time as well, and that's important. So we're going to see a lot of him. We haven't seen an awful lot of him at Lee. We're going to see something of him probably this weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's got to offer.
Yeah, let's hope we can see the rise of Lazarus. Yeah, one for the biblical fans out there. It's. I wonder it'll be interesting too to see. And I'm only spitballing here. Whether Chester's brought him over as a way of thinking, how would he go alongside Mulhern? What way of seeing that for next season? Is there some thought there from him? Perhaps, I don't know, but it will be interesting to see what he can do, and I hope he does it, because it's always great to see these players come over from Queensland Cup, New South Wales Cup, really make a go of it, because it just it shows that. I think it shows the competitiveness of our competition, and it shows other players you can come over here, you can have a good career out of playing over in the British Super League. European Super League, I should say, sorry.
Well, we mentioned Saluka Fafita on the other side. Saluka Fafita made more meters in that one game against Wakefield than Lazarus has done in 4 appearances. Mm-hmm. That says a lot. So I think, we need to see what this lad's all about, and maybe we'll see that this weekend at the Brewdog Stadium. It should be a very entertaining game. Right, it's time for a prediction. Which way are we going?
I am going to go Saints by 22.
A comfortable win for the Saints. I'm going to go 18. I think Saints win. I do think they win. I think they've just got more quality in the strike areas. Dion Crossback as well, which is I like Crossy. I think he's a decent, strong player. Runs a good line. So
I think they'll be buoyed by that win last week as well. I think, and the signing of Kevin Walters, I just think there's a bit of excitement going on around the team, and I just think that's probably going to get them over this week. But we've seen Cask. Cask could easily come and beat St. Helens as well.
Absolutely, and well done there to Kevster in the chat, saying, of course, Lazarus was a part of the Oldham team that beat London at the weekend. I get that, but this is a high standard than Championship Rugby League, and Old London have recruited well. We need to see what he's going to do in Super League. It's going to be a very interesting one. He thinks, though, he will be back at Lee next year. Let's see what happens there, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Lazarus at the weekend. But yeah, an 18-point win for the Saints. Right, let's get to a real juicy one. This, of course, is this evening. Lee Leopards taking on Bradford Bulls. And we have said Bradford now really are starting to look a little bit threadbare, and they are starting to look a little bit threadbare when you look at that squad. Some key personnel. Still no Jaden Nikarima, who's, been out for almost, it feels like, most of the season. No Rome Milnes there at 7. Ryan Sutton also now on the sideline. It does put a lot of pressure on the likes of Andy Ackers and co going into this one. Dan Russell, Zach Fulton there, of course. Any other real big absentees? Of course, Ed Chamberlain. Of course, you've got to remember Ed Chamberlain. He's a Bulls player. He's not in there. He's out for the season. So, like I say, lots of players, unfortunately, for the Bradford Bulls who, unfortunately, are injured at this time. So it's a real opportunity, this, for the Lee Leopards, for me to come out and to get a vital 2 points. And of course, at this moment in time, the Leopards are 6th. They're on 30 points, and they will not be giving up any hope at all, the Lee Leopards, of finishing with a home playoff place. There's no doubt about that in my mind. We'll come back to that squad in a moment. Let's just recap, though. 6th against 14, 5 losses on the spin now for the Bulls. The Leopards there, 4 out of the last 5 they have won. When they met earlier in the campaign, of course, it was a league win, 38 points to 12 at the Bulls in round number 14. That's how that one went down. And again, some massive odds here. 1 to 25 on the Lee Leopards. I mean, massive odds in the Leopards' favour here, Bill. This is a game, again, I go back to it, a playoff team, which is what Lee are. I just do not see Lee getting overtaken by St. Helens. Lee are a playoff team. They've been getting stronger and stronger in the back end of the season, to their absolute credit. A playoff team does not lose at home to Bradford at this stage of the season.
They do not. Lee last week, when I say their defence was on point, for anyone who didn't see it, their defence against Leeds was absolutely sensational.
Absolutely.
That was a statement victory in terms of defence for the Leopards. This week, they need to go out and they need to put a statement victory on in terms of attack. They need to really show what they can do going forward. They've been showing it for a number of weeks, but really, really kick on. This is a game that they can do it. They've been a side over the last few years that have traditionally finished the season quite strongly, and I think this is going to be no change here. I do feel a little bit sorry for the Bulls. They are depleted, properly depleted, but I don't think they'll lose on a lack of effort, but they will lose on a lack of quality. And Lee have got a real opportunity to kick on tonight.
Absolutely. And of course, a player that's been called into the England setup today, Yamila Hanley, deservedly so. Hanley has been superb this season. Really, honestly, what an improved player he's been over the last 2-3 years. Always a pleasure to see Yamila play, and let's hope he has another, eye-catching performance, because that's good for England if Yamila continues to play the way he's playing. The other player as well that's in the mix here is Jack Ashworth. I think somebody in the chat said that as well. Jack Ashworth coming across, the other way from Castleford, not fancied by Castleford for whatever reason. It does make you wonder what that reason is. I think on the field, I don't know what goes on off the field, but on the field for me, Jack Ashworth has got the tools. He has definitely got the tools. And I said, can't remember where I said it. It might have been on Weekly. Somebody puts an arm around Jack Ashworth. You never know what you're going to. Could he be like Jake Connor? Great example with Brad Arthur. Connor never really produced sustained quality. We knew he had it in him, but never dragged out of him. Brad Arthur's done that, and I think Jack Ashworth's one of those prop forwards that, with the right coach, perhaps. He could be one of those 9 out of 10ers that comes in, does a solid job, and gets some respect. And again, in the same way that Lazarus at Castleford is an interesting one to watch, Jack Ashworth in this league game is going to be an interesting one to watch if he's selected.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think Ashworth's ever going to be world class, but I think he can be a very, very solid forward. He's a good player. Perfectly good player. He needs some consistency and he needs some game time. I hope he can get that at Lee. How old is he now?
He's 31.
Yeah, so he's not. So this is sort of last chance for him, really, isn't it?
But as a prop, he's in his prime.
Yeah. So if he can go, and I mean, he's similar in how he works to Robbie Mullen too, isn't he? He's similar in that kind of in that kind of mold. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he can do.
Yeah, I'd love Andy to clarify what he means by Connor question mark. I've obviously said something that the Oracle doesn't like, so interested to know what that is. Is what I would say to that. Always open to good, honest, quality debate. But yeah, there you go. Let's get into, well, before we do prediction time, Joe offering Gowie. He was on the one to watch there. Joe Mellor as well. Of course, Joe Mellor has got great links to Lee Leopards, of course. Joe's been superb all year.
Yeah.
Boy, Joe's going to have to carry that team if they're going to get anything. I don't think they will get anything, quite frankly. But Joe offering Gowie, I mean, look, the end of the season, it's going to be fine margins in terms of who gets into the dream team at 8 and 10. It really is, because there's some real candidates for me this year for prop forwards in the dream team. Offering Gowie is absolutely one of them. He has been in the mould of Tom Amone in terms of the impact he's had at Lee Leopards. I mean, I don't know who. I mean, we just mentioned about Lazarus. Maybe that one's not going as well. Maybe, but you look at Tom Amone, you look at Joe Offering Gowie, two brilliant pickups for the Lee Leopards in the recent past. Would he be in your dream team after 23 rounds, or would you still be edging more towards Thompson, Vartilli, Hamlin-Welly, McMeekin to throw some others out?
Often Gowie and Hamlin-Welly should be in the dream team, and there should be no further debate on it as far as I'm concerned. They've been by far and away the two best props in the division. Yeah,
he's definitely in with a shout. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. He's been colossal. Really strong player is Joe Offering Gowie. Again, just another reason to tune in. If you like your big forwards, they're there tonight, of course. Outstanding stuff. Right, okay. Prediction time. Bradford Bulls at the LSV this evening. How many are you going the Leopards by? Because I think that's the way you're going.
Lee by 26.
Yeah, I think it's going to be convincing. I think Lee could get over. I think Lee could get up to 30 points tonight. The question is how many did Bradford get? But I'm with you. I think it's going to be high 20s, maybe even early 30s win for the Leopards. I think they'll see this as an opportunity to get some points on the board, because that points difference, again, let's just go back to it. For those who didn't join us at the start of the show, of course, you can catch up a little bit later. In terms of those positions, you've got Wakefield on a plus of 203. You've got the Robins on a plus of 305. Then you've got the Leopards on a plus of 80. So, like I say, the Leopards are a long, long way behind. But Trinity have got some real difficult games on the horizon. One of them being against the Leopards. And, of course, that means every point is double bubble.
Mm-hmm.
It's double bubble. So that could be a massive swing one way or the other if one of those two teams turn up. So that's going to be interesting. But, yeah, I do see a comfortable win tonight for the Lee Leopards. And good luck to them. Is it tonight? Is it tonight? It's not tonight. Is it tonight? It is tonight. It is tonight, isn't it? Yeah, it's tonight.
It's on the red button.
Of course it is. It's on the red button. That's right. It's on the red button. Because, of course, the big one is Wigan Warriors taking on Wakefield Trinity. This is going to be a barnstormer. This, for me, is going to, again, these top sixes, when they're going head-to-head now, they mean so much. And we've got another one tonight as the Wigan Warriors take on Hull at Wakefield Trinity. And again, the Warriors looking in really good fettle in terms of their squad. Just the second row, Liam Farrell, Junior in December, couple missing there. But in the main, they do look in good fettle to the Warriors. And of course, these younger players that have come through this year, they're not letting them down. Keane McDermott, of course, was in our second row in our team of the week last week, playing brilliantly well. I think everybody's been impressed with Shea O'Connor this year. So, they've got some real quality players in there coming through, have the Warriors, and of course, are on this unprecedented winning streak. The last loss coming to KR the week before the Challenge Cup final. As for Wakefield Trinity, welcome back to Oliver Pratt, who, without question, was one of the best players in the competition prior to him going out injured. He was in sensational form. Might not be a fashionable name, but let me tell you now, Oliver Pratt, if you know your rugby league, you know Oliver Pratt was playing some exceptional rugby league prior to his injury. He is back. That's massive. No Josh Rourke, so Jowett probably will be back as well for the Trin. But of course, no Lino. So it would appear that it will be Sinfield again. Now, Sinfield, for me, when he's played, I go back to that Leeds game. Sinfield was brilliant 1 minute, poor the next in D. Against Wigan earlier in the season, he had a bit of a nightmare. Sinfield for me is one to watch tonight. There's no question where that's concerned for me. I think he's got to have a really big game, Bill.
Yeah, he does. He needs to have a big game tonight. It's going to be all on for Wakefield to win, and that's not due to sort of a lack of ability they've got in the side, but they are missing a few key players. So, but not games like this, you need your halfbacks to step up. But I'm not being funny. If his forwards play like they did in the second half last week, he has got no chance, and that's no disrespect to him. But the forwards need to have a much better game than they did second half against St Helens.
Yeah, I mean, Dowell will be looking for a reaction. We'll come back to the squad in a minute because look at that. There are 2 losses on the bounce for Wakefield Trinity. That's not the type of form that you want coming into this game. The numbers there the wrong way around. Do apologise. It was 48-10 to Wigan, but it was at the DIY. That's why the numbers are the wrong way around. 48-10 away win for the Wigan Warriors at the DIY in round 14. And actually, that was a real strong win for the Warriors. And this has been a problem for Wakefield this year. They've lost some of these key top 6 matchups along the way. They go to the Brick having lost 2. The last time they won at the Brick was back in 2017. It's a long time between drinks for Wakefield. But like I say, Oliver Pratt coming back, that's a real bonus. And Zach Eckersley there, he scored tries in the last 3 meetings with Wakefield Trinity, hence the reason why he's one to watch. No surprise in the bookies have Wigan as a 1-8 favourite, 5-1 if you're Wakefield Trinity. Look, Wakefield have got enough quality there. There's no doubt about that. Wakefield have proved all season. And, there's a player there, there's a couple of players. One we know, and we know well this year. Seth Nicotimo, gone back home to Australia, so they bring in Zach Lipowicz from now until the end of the season. I think, Bill, this is an inspired signing from Darrell Powell. I think Zach Lipowicz, for me, has shown in a poor Catalans team that he has got a lot of game. And to put him in a Wakefield team where he's surrounded by players that are really punching well, I think this could be a very telling pickup for Darrell Powell.
Yeah, definitely. And I did for my page, I did a dream team about round 15, 16, something like that. And Lipowicz was one of my second rowers. I think he's had a really good season. And you got to be a good player to get picked up to go down and play in the NRL as well, haven't you? So, and that's he's headed to Perth next season. Yeah, very good player, Lipowicz. I think he's going to give them a little bit of experience out of backfield. He's similar in a way to a player like Nicotimo, but I just think he's a little bit better with the ball in hand. I'm excited to see what he can do in a Trin shirt, and I think he's going to give them a little bit of experience in the back row that they need towards the back end of this season.
Yeah, I mean, attacking output is quite uncanny when you actually compare and contrast Nicotimo and Lipowicz. In certain areas, try scored. I think Lipowicz has got 6, Nicotimo's got 5 this season, in terms of tackle busts and very, very similar players. But Lipowicz does get more meters. Lipowicz, for me, he's just got a bit more about him. And I actually think it's an upgrade. For me, I'm going to say it. I do believe, personally, I'd be interested to know what the Trinity fans think about this. But I would say that Zach Lipowicz, for me, is an upgrade on Seth Nicotimo. He's absolutely a quality player, and I think, like I say, really, really interesting to see him go there today. And of course, the other player that's going to come in is young is Emery Guller, who's of course come over early from the NRL. Of course, currently has plied his trade this year at St George. Come over early. He's going to be at Trinity next year anyway. 127 NRL appearances to his name, 65 Queensland Cup appearances. He scored 9 tries in his career this season, 16 appearances, scored a try, 11 tackle busts, 8 offloads, and 94% tackle efficiency, and averages 76 meters a game. Can play pretty much anywhere in the pack, really. Very mobile, got great hands, great feet. This is, again, another really timely pickup. And what these two, at the moment, Wakey, I don't know, it's been a bit grindy of late. It's not been as easy as it looked at earlier parts of the season, and all of a sudden 2 new players come into the dressing room. It could just lift the place at a vital time in the season.
Yeah, definitely. It really, really could. I mean, there's I'm not saying they're anywhere on this level, and so before I get a header wobble moment or anything like that, you saw the lift that even like a player like Andrew Johns came when he came over to Wire. I saw the lift mid-season many years ago when Ali Lalatiti came to Leeds. You know, and those are two that come to mind. But that you know, a player coming over mid-season, Callum Watkins at Leeds last season, you know, came over mid-season, kicked on, fantastic. So you know, it can have a real impact on the side. And let's be fair, they could probably do need a little bit more steel. You know, in particular, they do seem to be a bit short on numbers. Even Meekin playing in the back row last week, and you know, he's not
that's
a back row, where is it?
Yeah, and that's where the Lipowicz one comes in. It frees Meekin back up into the front row. And you know, Steve in the chat saying he thinks that Gula will be a good signing next year. It could be a great signing this year. You know, Dal Powell's going to make a call if he plays this week. You know, plays tonight or not. Pretty close to the bottom, because that team sheet's going to be out very, very shortly. But yeah, he may play tonight. If he don't play tonight, he's definitely playing next week. I think there's no doubt about that. So I think both Emre and Zach coming in for Trinity, two massive signings, a key point in the season. It's going to be very interesting indeed. Right, okay. Which way are you going? And by how many?
So I'm going Wigan, and I'm going Wigan. I'm going Wigan by 12. But I don't. You know, sometimes you see a 12-point win and it looks quite convincing. I don't think it's going to be that. I think Wakefield are going to give it a really good go. And they need to, from just a performance perspective, just to play with a bit of pride. They will be hurting after that game last week. They need a performance. The fans need a performance. And I think that's what they're going to get tonight. But without Rourke, without John Stone, without a lot of that pace coming out of backfield, I think Wigan are gonna have too much for them, and I'm going Wigan by 12.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's saying that he thinks that it's gonna take him some time to get used to Super League.
Perhaps.
I don't think it does with forwards. I really don't. I think good forwards, you know, Paul Vaughan at Warrington, offering Gower, you know, you're talking Tom Amone, you know, some of these forwards when they've come over, Herman SA case in point, pretty much hit the ground running. You know, a good prop forward from Australia, normally, I mean, and look, we've seen it with Fartilli and Hamlin Weller. You know, players, the middle units that come over, they tend to come over here, and the better ones hit the ground running.
Yeah,
because it's a far tougher down the middle contest in the NRL than it is in Super League. That's just fact. It's just fact. So they, you know, a really good pound for pound prop that comes over here, they're going to do damage. So I think it could be. You know, again, we'll see. I think if he does play tonight, hard to judge. He's only been in the country a few days. I think it'll be next week, the week after. We'll, you know, we'd certainly give him that amount of time to show his fibre. But it'll be interesting to see how he goes. I can't see Wigan not winning it, and I can't. And if you're gonna, I'd hope you were right. I would hope it would be no more than 2, maybe 3 scores. But something in me says that one of these two teams tonight could blow the other away. It would not surprise me. You know, it really, you know, it's one of those where it could. You know, do I expect this to be tight? For parts, maybe, but I do expect a convincing win one way or the other. I do. I don't know which way it's going to go. I could be wrong. But I'm going to go. I will go Wigan. I'm actually going to go by 22. Wigan are just, at the moment, Wigan are just in a different groove. And Wakey have looked a little bit off, a little bit tired. And this could come back to haunt me. But, you know, if Mr. Sharp, if you're watching, if Mr. Sinfield is truly ever going to be a grand final winning half, well, let's see it. And let's see it tonight, because this is a game where Truman and Sinfield and Smoother really do need to be on their game. And it's going to be interesting to see where it goes, without doubt. What a show. What a show. We hope you've enjoyed that. If you're getting us a bit late, someone have joined at 6, and you know we're finishing at 6. So if you're just starting watching it now, we're already done. We're done and dusted. It's been a great show. And of course, the members, you have got the warm-up. If you want to talk rugby league with the other members, I'll probably drop into the chat for half an hour as well to kick that one off. That starts at 6:30. So all the members, of course, 6:30, we are in the warm-up, where we'll debate the squads, because of course the squads then for both tonight's games will be in, and we can have a debate. If you go into the games, safe journeys, enjoy your rugby league. Let's hope that round 24 delivers. Last week did, in both the Championship and Super League. Let's hope we get the same this week as well. Bill, thanks as always, mate, for your time. That's been the captain's run for round number 24. Don't forget, final hooter, that'll be available Monday morning. The Tackle Talk girls, they'll be there on Tuesday morning. And Super League Raw Weekly, live, 8 p.m. on YouTube this Tuesday night, because you can't beat a bit of weekly. Bye for now, folks.